obsessed with it. And McGuire and Sosa were the biggest in a season when Jordan would win the NBA championship on a last-second shot over Brian Russell in a year where John Elway would be coming off of back-to-back Super Bowl wins and retiring off into the sunset. Like, think about those names right there. In that season, nobody was a bigger superstar in sports than McGuire and Sosa. And Barry Bonds, he saw this. He saw this and said, you know what? I am the best player of my generation, which at that point he was. And nobody's paying attention to me because McGuire and Sosa are hitting all these home runs. Like, literally, like Barry Bonds is like, guys. Now, Barry Bonds was also prickly. He was grumpy. He did not have the best public reputation. He was a diva. That's also kind of par for the course in the 90s. You were a big-time superstar. You were kind of a diva. But it drove him nuts in 1998 because he was the best player in the game, along with Griffey, because this is before the injuries came along with Griffey. And McGuire and Sosa got all the pub, all of it. Every paper, every magazine, every commercial, McGuire, Sosa. So then, a couple years later, we hear about this thing called Balco, and Barry Bonds, along with a bunch of other players, because the worst kept secret in baseball in 1998 was McGuire and Sosa are jacked. Wonder how they got that way. Clearly not steroids, right? I mean, they look like bodybuilders, and every time they hit a baseball, it seems to go a gajillion feet. I think they're just working hard in the gym. You know, I think, like, creatine was a new thing. Maybe they're just, that creatine, they're just focusing more because, back in the 80s, just these guys, they didn't focus on fitness. And now they're just focusing on it more. It's like, you don't get that big, focusing on fitness. And so the worst kept secret in baseball was you want to start hitting home runs, you better get on the juice. And Barry Bonds did. And all of a sudden, which he already had pretty good home run numbers, and then his home run numbers went astronomical. Thinking, hey, 1998 home run chase, well, I'll do it in 2003. Everybody will then be obsessed with and love me. Turns out, no. Nobody did. And I don't know if it was the steroids part of it, which, again, if we look back with clear eyes, almost the entire league was on it. Like the idea that Bonds and Roger Clemens are not in the Hall of Fame, yet other steroid users are in the Hall of Fame is one of the biggest injustices, bigger of an injustice than Pete Rose. The fact that Bonds and Clemens aren't in, but Big Papi is, it's like, dude was on steroids. It was documented. He was in the Mitchell Report.
And not just for specifically PEDs, but Justin, you go back and look. And most of it's with hindsight revisionist history. I don't think the Baseball Hall of Fame should be too elitist because there are some, how do I put this kindly, less than great charactered individuals who are already in the Baseball Hall of Fame from the early. Yeah, like people you're like, oh yeah, knowing what we know now, probably shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. But, it's
it's always tough. You can't, like the one is Ty Cobb, right? It's, Ty Cobb, he was there were a lot of racists back then. Still wrong.
Yeah.
Still wrong.
Yes, very.
But the point was the baseball writers have basically kept Clemens and Bonds and Alex Rodriguez out of the Hall of Fame because of steroids.
Are they permanently ineligible?
No, they're on the ballot.
So how long do you have to go on the cycle before you're like, don't you get so many opportunities and they say, hey.
I believe it's 10 years.
Okay.
I believe you're on the ballot for 10 years. And I could have that wrong, but I thought it was 10 years. And then you go to the Veterans Committee. But that was the thing. Clemens and Bonds are on the ballot. They could vote for them, and they should vote for them because you voted Big Papi in. And Big Papi should be in the Hall of Fame, but he was also a steroid user. But you're just going to keep Clemens and Bonds out. And also, by the way, there is a handful of other guys that is pretty well-known steroid users that are in the Hall of Fame. So, anyways, point being, you talked about Aaron Judge because he on the Bonds path. Well, Bonds was never on the Bonds path until 1998 happened.
Fair.
And then in 1998 saw, I can go this way and I can really, and his numbers just skyrocketed to where it became record-breaking numbers. And what it did kind of trickle down is it tainted and warped the records that were held so dear to where now you say in the update, Aaron Judge is the fastest at 300. And I go, all right, cool. It's no big deal. Meanwhile, when I was a teenager, I was obsessed. I knew all the numbers.
Go figure, right?
750, 714 Babe Ruth, 755 Hank Aaron, 61 in a season. That's the number because I always wanted Griffey to break that number, and I always felt like he was going to be the guy to do it. It wasn't. It was McGuire and Sosa. But, like, you learned all the – now it's like I knew the number 755 forever. That was Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron had 755 home runs. How many did Barry Bonds have? Can't think of it off the top of my head because it skewed all the other numbers. It skewed everything to where
762.
Exactly.
Yeah, see, I didn't know that either. I didn't
know that one off the top of my head because it was like nobody looked at it like it was real. And Aaron Judge obviously would be under the most scrutiny in terms of PEDs. I got to believe he's not.
In New York.
But when you see, Aaron Judge, 300 home runs, fastest one to do it. Nah, sorry, we don't care about it anymore. Like, it's cool. It's a fun little footnote on a Thursday, but, like, are we really, like, well, maybe he can be the, like, we wiped out home run numbers forever. Flew too close to the sun.
We did.
Icarus.
Like, I guess, like to your point, I totally agree, but, like, as he gets closer, it will have to be a big deal. Like,
well, okay, so last year, remember when he was on the path
yes, that was fun.
Maybe break?
That was kind of fun.
It was, but then they broke into college football games, and everybody was like, what are you doing? In 98, if they didn't break into regular programming with McGuire and Sosa, they would be, where's the McGuire at bat? That's how nuts it was back then. Anyways, maybe more on that coming up a little bit later. But we have got Blazer TV news. The way we watch and consume our Portland Trail Blazers is going to change. We don't know exactly what the change is going to be. I've got some guesses, and we'll talk about that next. 620 Rip City Radio. I mean, it may not be a party in the USA on a Thursday, but it was a party in Blazerland. It was a party in Rip City yesterday. I have not since Damian Lillard has hit that shot against the Oklahoma City Thunder, have seen Blazer fans come together, because remember what happened after he hit that shot? We had a whole pandemic thing, and the world kind of split on its kind of split one way or the other, and then there was a disappointing playoff loss, and then there was a coach firing, and then there was tanking again, and then there was a trade, and we have not seen Blazer fans come together like this since 2019. That's 5 long years, folks. But all it took was one email that was sent out, and the notification that the Blazers shall no longer be on Root Sports. And Blazer Twitter was in an absolute stellar mood.
Elated, I would say.
Because it was a bad move on top of a bad move. We've talked about this for a ton in the past, where it has felt like for I don't know, more than a decade, the Blazers just couldn't quite get it right in terms of the TV deal. They just couldn't quite get it right. I feel like it really started with the Comcast thing, and then Comcast became NBC Sports Northwest, which is where I used to work. But
pretty good TV show there, I heard.
It was. We had
a couple pretty good ones.
We had a Christmas special one that I felt like we deserved an Emmy. Not a local Emmy, but I feel like we deserved a local Emmy. And, we didn't get it. I don't even know if we submitted it, but it was a good show. A lot of hardworking people on that show and a goofball host, nevertheless. But yes, I worked at NBC Sports Northwest, but you know what else I did? I lived my entire life growing up in Southern Oregon. And the people in the 503 sometimes forget about the people in the 541. Now, I am here each and every morning to remind you of the fine folks down in the 541, because I just like talking about where I grew up. But beyond the DirecTV thing, right, which was Blazers are now on, then it was Comcast Sports Net, then it became NBC Sports Northwest, and all of a sudden, it was like, okay, so if I have DirecTV, I can't watch Blazer games. Or even if you do have cable, if you lived in Southern Oregon and you didn't have Comcast cable, you had Charter cable, which, by the way, you don't get a choice in. You don't get to watch Blazer fans or Blazer games either. Shrunk the viewing audience, and it was that way for a long, long time. Then I remember the day sitting at the TV station that I used to work at when the news came down that the Blazers were leaving NBC Sports Northwest and were going to Root Sports. And I remember when that news came down because everybody in management at the station that no longer exists sat and told us that this is not true.
They were denial, huh?
Such denial. And I'm
really?
Like, dude, this is totally true. Like,
well, they probably didn't want to envision the future without it.
They all knew the only reason we existed and the only reason the lights were on is because we had those games. And like, no, we're still in contact. We're still in talk. Like, no, you're not. Anyways, so when it goes to Root. So in a time where satellites and DirecTV was becoming more and more normal, and again, I've said this so many times about the Pac-12 network, but it also mattered to the Blazers as well. Every sports bar in America from 1994 on had to have DirecTV. They had to, if you are going to make money as a sports bar. Because what happened in 1994 in the sports world that changed the way we watch TV forever was NFL Sunday Ticket. An NFL Sunday Ticket was only available on DirecTV. So guess what? Every sports bar in the country went and put up a DirecTV satellite dish, if not multiple. Had to have it. And now all of a sudden the Blazers aren't going to be on DirecTV. Same thing with the Pac-12 network. So couldn't quite get it right back then. Then Blazers leave NBC Sports Northwest. Blazers go to Root Sports. And now they're on DirecTV. Now they're on multiple cable providers, right? Root Sports, up and down. They're down in Southern Oregon now. Yeah, but what became the norm about 2 years ago, when they made this decision? Streaming, cord cutters. Well, what's the app? Where's the streaming service? And then we found out, no. Root Sports doesn't have a streaming platform, and this was the first. It eventually went to Fubo.
That's what I had this last year.
But the first, they didn't have any. And it was like, well, they don't have really a streaming platform. And, by the way, it's not just going to be on the cable you have. You're going to have to pay more for it. That coincided with a couple of tanking seasons to really fire up the Blazer fan. So, again, couldn't quite get this cable satellite thing right. Then when cable satellite started going away, cord cutting, couldn't quite get the streaming thing right when going to Root Sports. And on top of that, out of nowhere, Root Sports puts it on a premium upgrade. And on top of that, I don't know how much it matters, but when you're on Root Sports Plus and a Kraken hockey highlight show is on regular, it felt like, okay, Blazers are an afterthought here. So now the announcement came down yesterday. Blazers are leaving Root Sports. Yes, Brenden.
One quick thing, too. Thankfully, we don't have to learn what channel Root Sports Plus is anymore either.
It's like 1,200.
Something like that. I never figured it out.
It was like in the I have the talking remote. I would just be like, Root Sports Plus.
Nice.
Is what I would do. So the statement came out yesterday. The Trailblazer basketball will no longer air on Root Sports, but we thank Root Sports for years of great partnership. An exiting announcement on the future television home of Blazer basketball will be made soon. So let's take some guesses. There's a couple of different options here, I would assume. I imagine the Blazers going to another regional sports network because RSNs are going away faster and faster and faster. I don't know if one exists where they could go to. And two, clearly that model is dying. Could they go the way of the Utah Jazz, which I believe the Utah Jazz have, I think it's like Jazz Basketball Plus or something, where essentially you could sign up for it and watch it the same way you watch Max, the same way you watch Paramount Plus, right? Any of the, I got them all. So Disney Plus, yes, Brenden.
Looking into that real quick, so you can go on jazzplus.com, give you 3 options. Say you're more of a casual and you want to just $5 for a single game.
$5,
single game.
That's expensive.
You can go monthly for $15.50. So that kind of
there you go. That seems reasonable. That seems about on par of what people pay for apps.
And then $125 for the year. That breaks down to $1.50 a game.
There you go.
That's pretty darn good.
So, especially if you are saving money on the cable bill,
yes.
Right? So, because I would imagine there's going to be some people who are going to be a little bit like me, which as soon as this news came out yesterday, started going like, how much is YouTube TV?
Did you call Comcast yet?
Not yet.
They're gonna be like, Justin, don't leave. We've had you forever.
They have. So there's that particular model. There is what the Seattle Kraken are doing, which is they are going to be on local TV, which I think is a great option. But you do again, and I think they're also offering a streaming option. The Kraken are. But again, I go back to growing up. The thing about the Blazers are more than just Portland. It's the state of Oregon. And so I saw a lot of people say, yeah, just put them on local TV. And what about people in Roseburg? What about people in Medford? What about people in Klamath Falls? There are Blazer fans, believe it or
Burns?
not. They are down there. What'd you say?
I said go east, go to Burns,
You go to
baby.
Burns,
You know there
go
are
to
Blazer
LeGrand.
fans out in Burns, man. Baker City, absolutely.
All the places that they go on the Blazer tour. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you guys realize that we don't get KGW down there. Like, and then that was because when I was a kid growing up, people always ask, like, why were you such a big Michael Jordan fan? It's like, because we had WGN, and I could watch Michael Jordan every day at 5 o'clock on my TV, and I didn't get the Blazer games because, well, we didn't get, I think they were on KGW back then. I don't know.
This was, KGW.
Either way, didn't get KGW, didn't get K2, didn't get
So they didn't feed.
didn't get KOIN.
Yeah, they didn't feed KGW to I believe it's KOBI. Like they can't send it to their affiliates in those.
They're probably, but it was a different time.
Sure, no,
back
yeah,
then.
like just asking now. Like if they did a deal with say KPTV,
Mm-hmm.
could they get that to go? Hey, we send that signal to KVAL and Eugene. We send that signal to
Yes,
like,
but also back then, network TV is like the Blazers on a Tuesday night or Facts of Life. You know what I mean?
Fair.
Sorry, Growing Pains is on at 8:30. It's a good show. Mike Seaver, he was so cool. Anyways, but now obviously we're in a different time. I think the Phoenix Suns, got it perfect. Because if I'm not mistaken, and again, Brendan's going to fact check me because I might be pulling this right out of my backside. You can still, even with really nice smart TVs, you can still go get an antenna. It's by the way, it's not rabbit ears anymore. It's a flat piece of plastic. And you can get local channels on your TV for free. That's why the NFL is never going to give up those CBS and those Fox games. Yeah, sure. Prime and Netflix is going to get them at some point. Is Netflix getting NFL this year?
Remember Christmas games?
Christmas games, yeah. So it'll be on Netflix, it'll be on Prime. But still,
Yeah, you're right.
most Seahawk games, you can get them for free. If
Just
you don't
flat
pay for,
pieces of plastic. Maybe I
You
should
ju-
get one of these, Justin.
I think I'm going to.
Like maybe I should get one of these.
Because it's an antenna. You get it. You get local channels. It still exists in the world, and like I said, it's not the old rabbit ears. And I believe what the Phoenix Suns are doing is they are broadcasting on a local channel, so that people that live in Phoenix can watch games live, and then offering a secondary streaming option, much like Jazz Plus, and combining the two, which I think, if there was ever a way to do it, that's the most perfect way to do it.
Have for everybody here in the Willamette Valley be able to catch most of their games on. I read too that KGW probably out because of the Kraken. Fox, KPTV is the most likely. From what I've read. So you're saying have all the games on Fox locally free here for anybody to get.
For anybody that lives here.
And then outside of the Oregon footprint, you said you can do that $100 for the year.
You get Blazers Plus app on your phone. You pay your $15 a month, and you get all the games and all of they throw in other stuff too. But to me, that's the most ideal. We're used to paying for apps on our phone, right? Trust me, I pay about $15 a month for apps that I don't watch anything on because, well, Ted Lasso used to be on it. Although I'm kind of back on Apple TV Plus now, but I watched the morning show and I watched Ted Lasso. But like, I pay for Paramount Plus because I want to watch 1883 and I want to watch 1923. And now those shows aren't working, and I still pay for it. So the idea that if you could just, for $15 a month, for $12 a month, you could, on your phone, on your smart TV, just, hey, Blazers Plus, and you get all the games. And it's got to be profitable. So if you don't live in and around Portland Metro where you couldn't get the games already for free, You just pay for the season, or you pay $15 a month. Pull it up on your phone, or your laptop, or your iPad, or stream it to your smart TV, or whatever. Boom. More eyeballs on your organization. And I don't know of anyone that would be unhappy with that deal. And you could make so many fans so happy. That is my dream. Because I feel like it's the way it should be. And I don't know the inner workings because I say like local channels, but like I got to imagine, this is the other thing. I joked around about it, about being in the 80s and the 90s, right? Do local channels want to disrupt, I almost said a show that was canceled. TGIF, right? TGIF was a very big deal. Full House to Family Matters. Nobody wanted, as a kid, if I showed up and I turned on Full House on TGIF, and, I got my buddy coming over to stay the night at a slumber party on a Friday, and it's like, all right, we're watching TGIF. And it's like, oh, Blazers Cavs. Because it's on, guess what? People don't watch TV that way anymore. They don't watch TV. You could put it on any local network you want. And if I wanted to watch America's Got Talent, I just go to the app I already pay for, and I watch it that way. And there's also secondary channels and other ways to be able to broadcast and stream these games. You find a local TV affiliate, put it on there, so that if you live in the area, you get to watch the games for free. Then if you live outside of the area, boom. You just put it on the app. And if you're a local TV station, and again, I don't want to speak for I don't know the finances of this. I might be sending somebody into bankruptcy. I don't know. I'm just speaking as a fan. As a fan, it feels like if the Kraken can be on TV every night, because where are the Kraken's on KGW?
Yeah, that's why they said the Blazers would they don't want to have the same issue that we have with Root now.
You can't have that.
Right. You don't, and no disrespect to the Kraken, but they were first to this. They grabbed KGW first. You don't want to be the second fiddle, and I'm not saying the Blazers necessarily were, but in the eyes of Root, Justin, they kind of were second fiddle to the Kraken.
Oh, they 100% were. Because that was the other problem, too, was say what you will about NBC Sports Northwest. Say what you will about us. You could say a lot, except for The Bridge. That was a good show. We were a Portland station. We were a Portland station.
Yes, and it was local programming.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
so many shows,
it was me,
this
and
and
it
that.
was Dwight, and it was Fentress, and it was people.
The whole gang.
It was Chad and
the whole crew, man.
Whole crew. Root Sports, that was a Seattle station. I know that because I worked there too. It was a Seattle station.
Not really
They were and I love my time in Seattle. I did. But you know what Seattle does not want? Blazers pushed upon them.
Right.
They
and you
don't.
never,
Been trying for years. They won't.
Right. And even when you and I had Root, Justin, I remember there was, they did, the Trail this year, which was that documentary.
A good show.
Yeah, stuff like that. But it's there was never, on, a non-Blazer night, okay, here's, Wednesday night Blazers show that Root produces. That was missed opportunities.
So there was always the feeling, Root was on cable, and cable is expensive. The streaming options were limited. I would, and again, kind of went back to the problem. Brenden, you're a cord cutter. To be able to watch the Blazers, you had to get Fubo.
I did.
Guess what Fubo doesn't have? NFL Sunday Ticket. You know what does?
I also don't have TNT networks anymore either. So
tough.
I was really glad to get
Max,
off Fubo.
Though. You
really glad to get off Fubo. So that was
YouTube, but YouTube TV, because again, as a sports fan, NFL runs the world. They just do. And so NFL Sunday Ticket, that's on YouTube TV. You got to be on YouTube TV. If you're a sports entity at all, you got to find a way to get on YouTube TV. If not, get on local network and have your app. And make the app super simple. Don't make it so complex with you can get featured games. No. 1 month, $12. Boom. Or maybe 15. I don't know. The Jazz are charging $15 a month to watch basketball online all month long.
And you
$15 a month.
And you get a free T-shirt out of the deal.
And you get a T-shirt out of the deal. Who doesn't want a free T-shirt? Everybody loves free T-shirts.
Kinda cool.
We may dive into this again coming up in hour number 2, but we have got our countdown to kickoff on campus in college football next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, we are 16 days away. 16 days away from college football kicking off here in the Great Northwest at Autzen and at Reser Stadium. And we have our countdown to kickoff. ESPN has now their top 100 players. Now, this is not a Heisman odds ranking. This is their top 100 players currently in college football. A lot of defensive players. And it begs the question, could this be maybe the year where a defensive player shakes up the Heisman race? We debate and discuss as we go on campus. Here we go. All right, you may not know these names right now, but you will know them by next April, because that's when the NFL draft is going to be. And a lot of these dudes are going to be going very, very high in the first round. Number one player, according to ESPN, James Pierce, defensive end out of Tennessee. He had almost 10 sacks last year. And he's the number one player in the country. He is a projected top 10 pick in the NFL draft. Mason Graham, sophomore defensive tackle out of Michigan. That's the other thing about Michigan where I'm worried about them completely falling apart, like I predicted yesterday. They still got a lot of dudes on the defensive side of the ball. They don't have J.J. McCarthy anymore. And who is the running back? Corum? Is that the guy?
Blake Corum.
Blake Corum. They don't have him anymore. But they still have a lot of five-star dudes on the defensive side of the ball. This is where it gets real interesting. I'm surprised this guy wasn't ranked number one, because I think you can make the case that Travis Hunter might be the best player in college football. I have grown tired of the Colorado thing. Some of it is Deion Sanders' fault. Some of it is Shedeur Sanders' fault. But most of it is ESPN's fault, because as I look up at my TV right now, it says, could Deion Sanders become Cowboys' next head coach? Really? They're in the business of hiring 4 and 8 guys?
Apparently this rumor has legs.
They're in the business of hiring 4 and 8 guys to be their head coach.
Had to look it up. Apparently the Cowboys are dreaming of a Deion Shedeur duo.
Good luck with that.
I say the same thing.
Good. Okay. Am I just being too biased? Honest question. Am I being too... I don't think Shedeur Sanders is that good. Maybe I am just irritated by the whole put up my watch thing, and I'm going to celebrate against Arizona State after I beat them by a field goal. I don't know. But
not wrong.
Maybe that, but like, I don't get it. Now, also, let me say this. I would be the worst GM in NFL history, because I look at college players and I go, that guy's going to be great, and they stink. And I look at guys and go, that guy stinks, and they have like 15-year NFL careers. So I would be the worst. But I look at Shedeur, and I'm like, if his name was Shedeur Jackson, I don't think he's on anybody's top 10 list anything. If his name is not Shedeur Sanders, he is nowhere. He is a also ran quarterback in college football. Threw for a lot of yards, sure, but he didn't win any games.
To push back on that slightly.
Yes.
The advanced metrics loved him. Every Pro Football Focus, like he and Travis Hunter were Colorado's 2 best players, and then
Travis Hunter is incredibly good.
And then there was a chasm between the next guys. So I've said forever, I'm somewhere in the middle. Like, I'm not quite as.
I don't know. I just think about, he was a 3-star recruit out of high school who went to Florida State and was not going to be a factor at Florida State, and then went to Jackson State, a division down, won a lot of games, sure, and then when he finally went to play big boy football against big boy football players, didn't win any games and blamed his offensive line the whole time. I mean, that doesn't sound like number one pick to me.
No, I'm not saying number one. Like,
or I'm saying first round pick.
Yeah, like,
doesn't sound like a first round pick to me. But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, you're not. I think there's something, like, for me, it's kind of in the middle. I see your argument, then I also see the argument of, like, yeah, you actually get it, put some real dudes around him. Maybe. That being said, though, Colorado hasn't played a game. Mike McCarthy still has a year left on his contract. Like, this is ludicrous.
It is completely
cue up
ludicrous.
the State Farm commercial.
It is completely
Like,
ludicrous.
it's just insane. So, no, he will not be the Cowboys' next head coach.
I mentioned it yesterday with Tyson Alger. The moment I saw Little League softball and Little League baseball going to video review, thought, we're living in the twilight zone. We are living in the twilight zone. And now, could Deion Sanders become the Cowboys' next head coach? It's like, we are living in the twilight zone. But anyways, moving on. Highest ranking Oregon player on this, Dylan Gabriel, not a surprise, number 16. Tez Johnson comes in at number 18, right behind him. I think Tez Johnson's going to have a monster year. I really do. I think he's going to have an absolute monster year. The only difference is
he is so good.
I've never seen Oregon with a wide receiver core like this. Oregon's receivers are so good right now. And what's crazy is I can't find him now. But what's kind of crazy is when you look at the odds for the Biletnikoff, which is of course the top receiver. Evan Stewart, the transfer from Texas A&M, actually has higher odds to win the Biletnikoff Award than Tez Johnson. Oregon has odds from, this was according to FanDuel, odds to win the Biletnikoff. Oregon has two of the top four in Tez Johnson and Evan Stewart. And then Ohio State also has that Ohio State-Oregon game. We're running out of time here, but it might be stuff we saw on the internet. It might be. Apparently, October 12th is somewhere in like the top 10 wedding dates, according to the knot.com. People are losing their mind. People are losing their mind.
Hey, as someone who had to attend a wedding in the middle of football season last year, Justin, you just can't help it sometimes.
I am going to as well, but like.
Just can't help it.
And I know it's your day, Princess. I get it. But don't you want people to want to be there?
Well, where is it?
We may talk about this on the other side. We've got that. We've got to make or miss. We got more stuff we saw on the internet. More Rip City Mornings next. 620 Rip City Radio.
7 a.m. on a Thursday. Brenden Slaughter with you. The Portland Trailblazers will have a new TV streaming home this season. And as a statement yesterday, the Blazers announced their departure from Root Sports. Over in the NFL, Vikings rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy is out for the season after undergoing a surgery to repair a torn meniscus. There was some optimism that McCarthy could return this season, but a full repair was needed. And over in the MLB, Aaron Judge is the fastest player in Major League history to 300 career home runs, crushing the record by over 100 games. Coming up on the big show, we'll be catching up with Kurt Helin from NBC Sports in Hour 3, and a whole lot more here on Rip City Mornings.
And welcome back. It is Rip City Mornings. Hopefully you are having a fantastic Thursday. 20 minutes from now, we have got a make or miss. 45 minutes from now, we have got a stuff we saw on the internet. Speaking of stuff I saw on the internet, this popped up yesterday. Wanted to make sure it was correct. Did actually some research, which is very rare on this show. But according to thenot.com, and anybody that's ever been married, you will become uniquely familiar with the website thenot, KNOT.com. It is where you go to send your announcements. It is where you go to put your registry. It's a one-stop shop. You create your wedding website, which you will, if you are about to be married, if you are about to ask someone to marry you, or if you are like me, you are already married, you know that the wedding website, very big deal. It's a very, very big deal.
Didn't know about it.
You would never know about the Knot, nor would any other single successful dudes who are listening to this show. But if at one point you do find your future Mrs. Slaughter, oh, you will know about thenot.com. Trust me.
It's like
it will be front and center in your world.
with that, Justin, I feel like I feel like John Mayer, just waiting on the world, man. I'm just waiting, man.
There's a whole world that
just waiting.
And I feel like the one kid on Billy Madison, stay as long as you can. You got to cherish it. But look, weddings are stressful. Marriage with the right person, fantastic. That being said, yeah, the wedding website, very big deal, and it's thenot.com. So The Knot puts out some articles, and this is based on real couples. Based on real couples, here are the most popular wedding dates of 2024. Here we go. Number 1, September 21st. Okay. I believe that's an Oregon bye week. So for me, September 21st, that's fine. Number 2 wedding date, September 14th. Brenden, could you attend a September 14th wedding?
No. No.
Is there something going on in your world on September 14th? Is there any way, shape, or form you could maybe
I can't say I'm overly optimistic about the results.
There
but
may
yes.
be an important day
But yes.
on September 14th.
There is this game that used to be played the day after Thanksgiving. But just a game.
Number 2, September 14th. June 22nd. Hey, that's a fine date if you ever want to get married on June 22nd. May 18th, also very popular. And then this one popped up October 12th, 2024. October 12th, 2024 is top 5 wedding date according to thenot.com. Just a couple of things going on October 12th. First off, Oregon, Ohio State. Autzen Stadium. That's going to be going on October 12th. You know what else is being played that day? Red River Shootout. Texas, Oklahoma. First year in the SEC. First ever Red River Shootout as conference opponents in the Southeastern Conference, where it means more. That's going to be on October 12th. Ole Miss, LSU. Pretty decent SEC rivalry. And by the way, both of them currently in the top 15. Ole Miss top 6 team. Also, like I mentioned, Oregon, first year in the Big Ten. Biggest opponent coming to Autzen Stadium clearly is Ohio State. Biggest opponent coming to the Coliseum this year as a Big Ten conference opponent. Well, I guess Michigan is also going to be coming, but coming to USC. Penn State at USC. Also being played on October the 12th. So the fact that that is now one of the, I'm trying to get into week 7 here because there's got to be other things at play here. So Oregon, Ohio State, Ole Miss, LSU, Penn State, USC. Oh, Florida, Tennessee is that day as well. Kansas State at Colorado, not so much. Washington's at Iowa. Again, big-time conference opponent. Texas at Oklahoma. How on earth could you have a wedding on October the 12th? Now, again, I'm going to say this because I shall be attending a wedding on September 7th. Oregon is playing Boise State on September 7th. I'm going to be watching the game on my phone. Now, it is wife's friend who is getting married, and because my lovely wife, who is a Washington alum, goes to all Oregon football games, it would be pretty unfair for me to be like, hey, I know you are a proud Husky alum and you love your Washington Huskies and you get one game this year at Autzen Stadium and that game isn't even all that fun because everybody is cheering against your team and you go to the rest of the games because you know that I love it. I really can't miss this Boise State game. Couldn't do that. Wouldn't be fair. But you got to know even if you are not a sports fan, don't you have to know that if you have your wedding in the fall, and I'm going to be generous, 20% of the people don't want to be there. Just being generous, I think. And I'm not talking about the October 12th, where I think we're more like 40, 45, maybe even 50%. 20% of the people don't even want to be there. They don't want to be there. That's not going to celebrate your day as a princess. What are we doing? How is it that the 5 most popular dates are all fall weddings? You can have, and I'm sure you love the fall colors, and I know I'm talking to potential brides-to-be, and I don't think that's our listening audience all that much. Brenden, what do you think? You think that's our demographic?
Not really.
Maybe potentially, though. But if you do have your wedding in the fall, just know there's going to be at least, depending on how big your wedding, about 20%, especially the dudes, who are not going to be happy about it. What is going on? I'm trying to think of like where my limit would be.
Okay, let me ask you.
I'm trying to think where my limit would be in terms of like a wedding that was on October 12th where I have got tickets to Oregon, Ohio State, and I'm going to the game where I would be like, I have to go. I don't know if there's one.
I guess it's different for everybody. Like there was minus being in a hospital bed with dying COVID. There was no way I was not going to go to my sister's wedding last year. And I missed the Cal game for it. It was a road game, but I missed it.
Cal game on the road. What if that would have been Washington game at Reeser?
Would have been hard, but looking back in hindsight, plenty more Beaver football season to come.
You were a very good brother.
One wedding. And it was, now I'll say this. That was epic. And then I made a joke to you, Justin. I said, my situation was a little unique. I missed a football game, but I got a week in Mexico.
That's
for
true.
it.
You were in Mexico.
So if it was just like, hey, we're down here at the barn in Salem for the wedding today, I'd probably be like, yeah, I got work. So I've been to a couple of those. You got to give me a good deal, Justin. Like, I'm not going to pretend I'm the most, like, you got to sell me. And when you go, hey, all-inclusive resort.
So, okay, all-inclusive resort, and you weren't going to go to the game because it was a road game at Cal. And I'm sure, depending on when the ceremony was, there was some sort of a bar with a TV somewhere.
Sure.
Some of these weddings, though, you go and you're like, oh, yeah, no, there'll be a TV there. Don't worry about it. And you go there, and it's like, where's the TV?
There was a wedding we got invited.
Oh, no, well, Yeah, they said they'd get the game on for it. Like, these people who work weddings, they don't care about the game. They care, like, they are working by the hour. They are working for tips. So they are pouring the wine and they are pouring the beers. They do, even if there is a TV above the bar or whatever your reception hall is, they don't have DirecTV.
Oh yeah, I mean there was.
You got ESPN2 up there? It's like,
yeah,
no, we don't.
There was zero chance of finding Oregon State Cal in Mexico, which was fine. But yeah, like it just this whole thing is just it's comical, Justin, because I completely agree. I really do.
I'm saying have your wedding whenever you want to have it. Do whatever you need to do. Have your wedding whenever you want to have it. But just understand, if it is after Labor Day, about 25% of the people don't want to be there. They just don't. They don't want to be there.
I just wonder why.
I don't want to be mean-spirited about it, but they don't want to be there.
Yeah, I mean,
they want to be somewhere else, and they're going to be paying attention to their phone.
I mean, for example, like there was, again, call it shallow, whatever it is. The people who are in my circle, they know I love them, but very recently, Justin, we got invited to like wedding, kind of like as friends of friends kind of a thing. So like a couple degrees of separation. But we're like, oh, that's going to be a dry wedding in August. And I'm like, I think we're okay.
No, thank you.
Again, am I a little shallow? Like I said, give me a good deal and I'll be there, man. But if it's
a dry wedding,
yeah.
I mean, listen, everybody lives different lives.
They do,
I guess.
But not quite what I was looking for.
Probably not a fun dance floor.
I can see that too. But each to their own. But I was like, probably gonna be floating that weekend.
Yeah, the dry wet out. Cash bar, I guess. Like maybe.
I went to, when my
but football season.
When my
could you imagine football so number 5 date for weddings is October 12th, which like I mentioned, Oregon, Ohio State, Ole Miss, LSU, Penn State, USC, Red River Shootout.
Is that just Oregon or is that nationally?
Florida, Tennessee. That is national. It is a national top 5 wedding date.
That's my other thing. If you don't,
what if you went to that and it was a dry wedding?
That'd be tough. Very, very tough. I'd have to really love you to go to a dry wedding.
Yeah, I don't know if I love anybody that much.
But like, my question is, Justin, how come if you're in like Texas or Arizona, you're not like, hey, we can get married in March and it's going to be warm? I'm just saying, like,
hey,
everyone does weddings differently, but I'd be like, hey,
Brenden,
look, March is fine.
Brenden, I live here. You know when I got married?
March.
February. I got married in February.
Yeah.
Close to March, but I got married in February. Now, also,
it was rescheduled, though, was it not?
Twice.
Yeah. So, what was your original date?
It was May.
Oh, still fine, though.
Still fine
in this.
Oh, never in the fall.
Still fine.
And by the way, because A, I work in sports, and B, a good chunk of the people that were invited to my wedding are people who cover sports. Every NFL date too was out. Like, that's why we pushed it because it is February 19th, right? And we pushed it at the time when we scheduled. That was 2 weeks after the Super Bowl. Now it's 1 week after the Super Bowl. And if they move this stupid schedule to an 18-game schedule and add a bye, my wedding anniversary is going to be on Super Bowl weekend every once in a while. Pushed it to get out of that. All right. Coming up next, we have got Make or Miss on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, 1 hour from now, Kurt Helin's going to be joining the show. Excited to talk to him.
Top Shelf still going on?
No, Top Chef's over.
Oh, we're out. We're done. Gotcha.
Top Chef's over. It was a good season of Top Chef.
Couple of things to catch up with Kurt right?
Maybe we'll get his thoughts on, is there a market for Jeremy Grant? Is there a market for Anthony Simons? Or are the Blazers just going to go in with kind of what they got into the season and maybe feel it out into the trade deadline? So we'll talk to Kurt Helin about that and maybe we'll go back and see about Team USA and all of that. Before we get to Make or Miss, good friend Larry on Twitter. What's up, Larry? If there was a wedding date, or if there was a wedding on the date Oregon were to play for a national championship, would you miss it? Would I miss the national championship? No way, shape, or form. Wouldn't do it. I'm sorry. Call me a meathead. Call me a big dumb jock, which I have been called before. I don't care who you are. First off, it'd be a Monday wedding, which would be weird.
Yeah, it would be very weird.
But even if it was the weekend, of and maybe travel, I don't know. Oregon's played now. Oregon has played in two. I've attended one, watched the other. There's no way I'm missing.
Well, there's a will, there's a way, Justin.
Zero, zilch, none, nada. Ain't missing it.
Yeah, to answer Larry's question, I'd be like, all right, so if the wedding's on Saturday, I can fly back to the championship on Sunday. Like, if there's a will, there's a way, man. Just depends on if you want to pay for it. But, yeah,
But if it was, let's just say that the college football world decided to finally pull their head out of their backside and go, you know what we should do, since every other big-time game we play is on a Saturday, maybe we should play our national championship on a Saturday. The Saturday before the Super Bowl.
By Pro Bowl.
Yeah. Or, well, I guess it'll be done before. Who knows when they would actually do it. But let's just say they pull their head out of their backside and just go, you know what? Yeah, college football playoff, championship game, we're playing it on a Saturday. And that happened to be the date of a wedding, and Oregon was in it. Yeah, I ain't going. I ain't going to your wedding. I don't care whose wedding it is. Not happening. Call me Call me what you will, and I don't care.
Who's your closest family member? Like, say it was your brother.
Mm-hmm.
And it was.
And so I have two brothers. One is not married. He knows. He knows better. Let me tell you, if there was ever a time where my youngest brother, who is not married, he would not be on an Oregon football date, any chance. So there's that.
Fair. Good call.
And also the same as my younger brother, who is married, and I was the best man at his wedding.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
If it's a national championship of Oregon, yeah, I don't know if I might zoom in, maybe. I don't know.
You've been like, hey, can we move this a day?
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't.
Classic. And I remember, like, when this was all getting planned out, I was like, please, 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 to my sister, I'm like, pick a road game. And it just so happened to be that it's like, this is when the resort had availability and for, all 50 of us.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, oh, thank goodness.
Two years ago, wife had a family member married in, I think it was October. And it was the Oregon bye week. So I'm like, I'll go.
That's clutch, right?
Because again, very nice person. I know her. She's a terrific person, but if it was an Oregon game, I ain't go. It was Oregon bye week. So I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's go to Dallas. Go to Texas. You know what that week was? That was the Hendon Hooker, Tennessee, Alabama game.
Oh.
That was going on. That was going on in the middle of the reception.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. All right. Good to know. I'm going to have to watch that on DVR. All right. Have we opened up Make or Miss yet? No, the music's not playing. Let's do it. Let's get to Make or Miss.
All right. Got to start here. Injuries suck. Sorry, JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, that one's a tough one.
Just stay. Like, I'm not a Vikings fan. I'm not a JJ McCarthy stan. I kind of liked him after one game. I just feel bad. Like, this is such a...
It does stink. It does.
It's a huge
injuries. Just go exactly what you just said. It is a 100% make. That's it is the cracked egg of football, right? We talk about to make omelets, you got to crack eggs. The cracked egg of football is injuries. Injuries are going to happen, and they stink. And I think most fans, even even if you were a Lions fan, even if you were a Bears fan, even if you were a Packers fan, right? The rest of the NFC North, you gotta nobody wants to be happy about another team's injury because I think there's that football karma guilt that you feel because you're like, boy, I really don't want my guy to get hurt. So you don't really ever want to root for injuries. I love the Pittsburgh Steelers. I hated that Joe Burrow got hurt last year. Hated it. Because I don't want my guy to get hurt. So yeah, injuries do stink. And here's the other thing too, especially with JJ McCarthy. As soon as you heard like there's going to be two options, first round pick, rookie quarterback, guy they think they can build the future around. You mentioned it, Brenden, looked really good in like that first preseason game. They are taking no precautions. And I do think teams that have rookie quarterbacks are more apt to just shut it down for the season because what team with a rookie quarterback has any playoff aspirations? The Texans made it last year out of nowhere. Of the teams with rookie quarterbacks, it's going to be what? The Bears, the Broncos. Who else is in there? Who else is going to be starting a rookie quarterback? Not the Raiders. Who am I missing?
Not the Falcons,
No,
obviously.
not the Falcons. So I guess, is it just the Bears and the Broncos? And it would have been the Vikings.
Commanders, Jaden Daniels.
Commanders. Dude, okay, real quick, aside.
Drake May probably going to start over Brissett?
Yeah, okay.
Drake May is not my guy. But
so Patriots, Commanders, Bears, Broncos, would have been Vikings. Even if it was the Vikings, none of those teams have aspirations of going to the playoffs. If you do, great. Are Bronco fans going to be like up in arms if Bo Nix doesn't take them to the playoffs? No. They'd be like, yeah, got a rookie quarterback, get Sean Payton working. We'll see you next year. Patriots clearly no. Vikings probably not.
No. With Sam Darnold, that would the Vikings to see your
as crazy as it sounds, the one that maybe has the most playoff aspirations is the Bears.
Yeah,
because they actually have DJ Moore and Keenan Allen on top of a guy that could be an unbelievable rookie. I mean, you put Ron Odunze sitting there as the third option, and they got a decent defense.
Like Justin, very rarely in time, and you will remember this because you are a fan, and I know you will love this reference. There was at one point, and I call it because in the NFL, Justin, you know this, you usually have one superstar receiver, maybe one mid-tier guy, and then maybe just like a rookie. It is so unbelievably rare to have what I like to call the holy trinity of receivers when you can have three receivers who are studs. You might be able to think back to your Pittsburgh Steelers days. And there was a time when the Pittsburgh Steelers ran out Antonio Brown in his prime, Martavis Bryant, who's back in the league.
He's back now, baby. Yeah.
And that dude was so good. And shout out Oregon State, Marcus Wheaton. And that trio that year, and that's been like my the Pittsburghs of 2017. Like that is the trinity of receivers. I don't think I've seen a better receiver core from top to bottom than this Bears unit since that Steeler unit. Like top to bottom. Like even the Patriots, save me all your Tom Brady, Joe Schmoes who were able to make plays. This is one of the best receiver cores I've ever seen. Like Keenan Allen's getting up there a little bit, but still. Toss in Cole Kmet, the tight end.
Oh, yeah, Cole Kmet's pretty good, too.
I mean, if Caleb Williams can throw the ball, not get hurt, it could be a good year for the Aaron Fentrises of the world.
God, he'd be unbearable. This guy would be unbearable. Oh, no.
First time of,
oh, my goodness
You
gracious.
knew Fentress, though, in, 2006, right? Back when the Bears were rocking with Rex Grossman. Mm-hmm. So it's been a minute since the Bears have had any success.
Terrible. It'd be so terrible if the Bears are good.
All right, let's keep.
But getting back to, you mentioned Jaden Daniels. Commanders being pretty mum about Jaden Daniels, and I think that
Dan Quinn's not a big speaker.
I'm not saying that's a bad. I think it's the opposite. I think they're being quiet because I think usually if a rookie quarterback's coming in and not doing well, they're like, he's doing all the right things. Like we think about what you heard from Carolina,
learning the
playbook. He's a great leader. His work ethic is impeccable. Commanders are being awful quiet. about old Jaden Daniels, and I think it's because they like what they got.
For the first time in how many years they're actually like serious as an organization, kind of. So
That's also true.
like you've talked to me a whole lot about like the organization and
Caleb Williams is, as we mentioned, I think yesterday, still one of the best physical specimens at quarterback
ever.
I've seen. And I watched Cam Newton. Cam Newton might be up there too. Jaden Daniels is a freshman. And I know it's just the one game against Oregon, but also like he was all packed. Was he all conference that year or close to it? I mean,
Daniels?
Herbert was in the conference, so maybe not. But he was so good as a freshman at Arizona State. And then obviously everything that happened there, and without him at LSU, like they would have been a mess last year.
Brian Kelly might not be there anymore. As crazy with
I don't know about that.
Because they signed him to what, like a 5 or 6 year deal?
Yeah, but like they paid him a lot of money. I think he's like $75 million, something crazy like that.
Yeah, no, let's just say he wasn't there and say LSU went 10-4, 9-3. I'm willing to bet Daniels is good for at least 3 wins each year. So if they had gone 7-4, 7-5, and like 7-5, how would we be feeling about Brian Kelly today? Like you said, probably not fired, but that pressure be cooking up.
Pressure's going to start cooking up this year. I don't know if LSU's going to be very good. And you've got Texas and Oklahoma now in the SEC as well. But just Jaden Daniels was so good. And I kind of like became a hater last year because I wanted Bo Nix to win the Heisman. But if we're all being honest, yeah, that guy was he might be that dude in DC. He might be. But yeah, it does stink for J.J. McCarthy, especially because it felt like he might have been on his way to being a starter. But like I said, any of these teams that they had no playoff aspirations, you shut him down. You take, like, what benefit do you have if you want this guy to be your quarterback for the next 10 years, which is what every first-round draft pick should be projected to be a quarterback for the next 10 years? You shut him down, and you don't risk anything, especially with the knee. But it does stink. Good luck, Sam Darnold. By the way, Sam Darnold, you're 7. You're 7 in the league.
And you know what's crazy is a part of, like, again, Kevin O'Connell, I wanted to say Aiden O'Connell, but Kevin O'Connell, the head coach up there in Minnesota.
Is he on the hot seat? Were they trying to run him out last year? A little bit?
You can't, because now Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles last year, and now your first round. You can't.
So, yeah.
Blame him.
Kind of bought him. But like that playoff loss to the Giants 2 years ago was pretty embarrassing.
It was.
And then to follow it up, and I know Kirk Cousins got hurt, but kind of a year where they really underachieved, and now you got to.
Well, I'm curious, how many of these guys from the Shanahan-McVay tree, how long, because I'm like, Kevin O'Connell to me is very much like very much like Mike McDaniel in Miami, where it's like there's been some success, there's some stud players there, but can they win the postseason? We saw Mike McDaniel get embarrassed in the Chiefs this last year in the wild card game. So
but we talk about it with quarterbacks all the time, but coaches too. It's like, yeah, I'm in a league with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
So,
right.
Sorry.
Right. And
now, I guess they're NFC teams, but even still,
no,
like,
you're totally
you know
right.
what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, and
like, what are they doing in the playoffs? Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are in our league. Like,
oh yeah, no, it's.
And before that, it was Belichick and Brady.
Oh, I know. It just seems to be like the next, and now it's like those guys are playing on cheat codes when you still think you're playing right. But yeah, no, I think Kevin O'Connell will be fine. I like him a lot, but the Vikings are probably not going to be a factor because,
What if Sam Darnold just rips off him?
He could, because in my
head, he does what Kirk Cousins did 2 years ago, which is like any bit of trouble or third down, anything, I just throw it to Justin Jefferson.
Yeah,
that guy.
It's true.
Justin Jefferson is getting the football if I'm ever in trouble.
Yeah,
and he's probably going to come down with it.
Yeah,
because that's what. I know, I'm sure it was way more complex than that, but that's what it felt like Kirk Cousins did 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And how they got, like, they rattled off, 15 wins or something?
Yes, like they started.
Because every time it was 3rd and 8, they would double-team Justin Jefferson. He would throw it to him anyways because that guy's special.
And he's like, yeah, I'm just going to do it anyway. But, I mean, I know it didn't work. Darnold obviously busted out with the Jets. He didn't play much for the 49ers. But, like, as I look at it with them, like, uniforms are magic sometimes, and it's like, more so than like a Zach Wilson. I did always think that Sam Darnold was going to have a moment in the NFL, Justin, because I can remember him carving up Penn State in that Rose Bowl, basically the last time USC was relevant.
Yeah. Was it 2017?
I think it was the only time they won with Clay Helton. So that
Yeah, I
sounds
think
about
it's
right.
2017.
But like Sam Darnold cooked Saquon Barkley and Micah Parsons led Penn State, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh my gosh, Sam Darnold is just cooking. Then he gets the NFL and it doesn't quite work. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. But the Vikings, Justin, I think it's probably safe to say we can move stock off of them for the year. You know, we like to go stock in, stock down, buy low.
Yeah, that's
sell the Vikings. Sell the Vikings.
You know more about this whole trade and stuff. You know when like a company's in trouble, don't they like suspend trading or something with a certain company? Do they do that?
They do.
I know in Vegas, like they'll take bets off the board.
Yeah,
like that's what the Vikings like. Hey, suspended trading. On the Vikings.
like a week or so ago when things had kind of dipped down and they're back up again. But when things dipped down and everyone was kind of starting to panic, my brokerage app said, "Yep, we're just shutting it down. No one can trade anymore for the night." So. You know, the world we live in, right? But let's go ahead and get to one more here for...
You're telling me a bunch of social media people that were saying the sky was falling were wrong? And that...
The money did lose. Like, I saw it go away, Justin, then it came back. So, I mean, kind of wrong, kind of right.
This is a world I do not know anything about.
Yeah, it can be a little hard on the old heartstrings sometimes. But nevertheless, let's get to this last one because we got to talk about this. Justin, Goodbye, Root.
Yes.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Was never a fit. It was never
100%.
Say what you will about NBC Sports Northwest before that Comcast Sports Northwest, before that Comcast Sports Net. Say what you will about it, but you can't say and I say we because I used to work there, we weren't focused solely on the Portland Trail Blazers when it came to programming, when it came to access. Like it was 100% Portland Trail Blazers route. It was never that way. The fit just never quite worked out. And then on top of that, the fact of the matter that in 2024, or let's just even go back a year in 2023, that there was such a lack of streaming options for an NBA team in market. What are we doing? So it was a Seattle-based station that was clearly Seattle-focused, and obviously Mariners and Kraken were always going to be their focus. Even when it was the Blazers' focus, though, it's 2024. You need a streaming option. You need multiple ways to watch your programming, and it just never quite fit. So, yeah. It felt dated. And then on top of it, just the kind of insult of like, and I don't know if it was Comcast. I don't know if it was Root. I don't know whose decision it was. But then to say like, yep, I know you just went through a tanking season, but if you want to watch the Blazers now, it's going to cost you more. And you're going to be on the premium side and not just on the basic. And fans got fed up. And you know what? Tip of the cap to the Blazers for listening to the fans and serving the fan base. Because not all NBA teams would do that in the middle of a contract, and I'm sure it cost them money. You had contracts aren't broken easily. It wasn't like they just woke up and said, hey, Root, we're breaking up. Sorry. It's like, no, we've got contracts.
There was probably a lot of legal maneuvering.
There's a lot of legal maneuvering, and I'm sure it probably cost the Blazers a significant amount of money.
They ate money, without a doubt.
To be able to get out of it, and they did it to serve the fans. Good for them. Good for them.
It is because
now we wait and see what the future holds. More on that coming up in hour number 3. But in terms of, I don't want to say it was a toxic relationship, but it was clearly two sides that were going in different directions. We just grew apart, Root. You know, it's not you, it's me. We want to give our fans a streaming option, and you like to be on premium cable and put us on channel 1200 and something. So, yeah, good time for a breakup and good move for the Blazers. All right, coming up, stuff we saw on the internet, wrapping up hour number 2. But before we do that, I do want to let you know about, we just talked about Root, and that's where the Mariners are. But, hey, going to T-Mobile Park is still very fun. And Rip City Radio wants to take you up to the ball game. Head to the contest page at ripcityradio.com for a chance to score a pair of tickets to each game of a weekend homestand where the Seattle Mariners take on the Texas Rangers. That's September 13th through the 15th at T-Mobile Park, plus 2 nights at Hotel 5. It's a Stay Pineapple Hotel with out-of-the-ordinary hotels in extraordinary locations. Enter today at ripcityradio.com. And remember, it's not too late to plan a trip to Seattle for a Mariners game this season at T-Mobile Park. Schedule and information at mariners.com. Stuff us on the internet next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, it is time for stuff I saw on the internet. And I saw this on Twitter, but this is from a Reddit. Reddit page. Are you on the Reddit?
I do like Reddit.
I don't know how it works. I've tried. I have a Reddit thing on my phone. I get on there and I'm like, nah, it's too much. And
So like the House of Dragon Reddit. Oh, I can lose so much time. Like it's all for my.
Everybody talks about it like, oh, I got in this Reddit thread,
Rabbit hole.
and I'm like, I never have. I see it, and I'm like,
I would encourage for you. You like cooking. You like TV shows. Find stuff about like cooking, TV shows, movies.
Do they have videos on there like TikTok?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because TikTok, whew, it got me.
I know your love of the TikTok.
TikTok got me. But a Reddit thread said men in their 40s, what they would tell their younger selves, which is interesting because I am in my 40s. Brenden is in his 20s. I'm going to see how many of these I would actually endorse. So this is the list of some said, what would you, if you were in your 40s, what would you tell your youngest self? And apparently this went viral on Reddit. So here we go. Got to do the viral things. Time flies, blah, blah, blah. Cherish every moment. Yeah. This one I thought interesting, especially in this business. So take your hearing more seriously. Wear hearing protection or you will be driven insane by a constant high-pitched tone. It is something I've always worried about. Now, luckily, because I have been in radio for 20 years, and my entire time in radio, everybody who is older than me cannot hear. They just can't. And I think it was more of a trend back in the day where you want to project your voice, and most people, when they do, they'll crank their headphones up so you can hear every little, pitch and pop, and you do sound more pronounced when you turn your headphones up. I never did because I'm like, I don't want to be these guys that can't hear. So
that's one for sure. And I'm now great.
I don't listen to loud music. Maybe when I was a teenager I did, but I don't listen to loud music. I've never understood that.
Oh, really? You don't like to roll your windows down in your car and just go?
No.
Oh, even at 28, I still love to do that. So, yeah. Roll down the windows, go like, not blowing out your speakers, but man, like that way it's like, yeah, I want everyone I'm driving by to hear what I'm listening to, too.
At least you admit that.
Oh, yeah, totally.
All right. Let's see.
What else shocked you?
Maintain platonic relationships. It gets way harder to make new friends when you're older. This is true. It's hard to make can't make new old friends.
Yeah.
And it is, it's just, I've had like friendly relationships with people at the gym. Once you get married and then like families start and like, hey, we should hang out. It's like, oh yeah, what's a good day? About 2026.
Is it 100?
It's a good day, maybe. 2027's open.
Yeah, as someone who is married, like, is the cliche, like, because I've always heard forever, when you're married, you want to be friends with you need to be friends with couples. So if your wife likes that couple's wife and you get along with that husband, you will hang out a lot.
That's a
right, and then
slam dunk.
Say you have kids, then, oh, yeah, our parents like each other, so we hang out. But, like, say you had a friend, Justin, that you liked, but your wife didn't care for his wife, you probably wouldn't hang out all that much. So
it's not a probably. Let me tell
you,
it's a non-negotiable. It just is.
Okay, for real?
I don't like.
For real?
Fix your diet. That one's I said, if I could talk to my, don't get fat and save your money. It's basically the two things I would tell myself in my 20s. Let's see this one. This one I found funny. I told you this earlier. Somebody put on there, says, keep the weight off, stay clear of debt, but most importantly, have fun and make every day count. Before you know, your 20s will be all but a distant memory. Those two things are counterintuitive because I did make every day count in my 20s, and I did not keep off the weight, and I didn't have an awful lot of savings. Didn't have a lot of debt either because, to have fun and make every day count, you got to spend money and not really eat the healthiest or not drink as much.
Yeah, that's kind of the catch-22, Justin, because I've opted for the former to save more money, but yeah, I mean, do I eat the healthiest? Nope.
Let's see. Retirement money, start saving now. I would agree with that. Save at least 10% of your income.
That's hard.
I've tried. It's one of those I tell myself I'm going to do it, and then it's like, nah, with like diet starts Monday. It's like, nah, it'll start Monday.
It can be tough, yeah, putting money away, especially, especially now where your dollar's stretched a little thinner. It was a little easier to save a couple years ago.
Let's see. This one's eat more fiber. So it sounds super lame, but in my 20s, I wish I would have paid attention to this. When your system is more efficient, system being more efficient, you know what they're talking about. So are you. I eat healthy already, so I think I get plenty of fiber. But yeah. So basically, save your money, eat well, take your fiber. Is to me, that's the biggest one I've always said, because I've had multiple, as I have gone into my 40s, people say, like, what would you tell your younger self? Don't change anything except for save your money. That's it. Save your money. It's gonna be real helpful one day, because your car is going to break down. It's going to happen. I don't care how well you take care of it. Your car is gonna break down. And on top of that, I would say learn a hobby. Hobbies are important. This wasn't as funny of a segment as I thought it was going to be. Either way.
Well, I mean, hey man, this is still like this is a perfect between like me and you as far as like you've told me for the better part of 2 years you're like save money. Like
yeah.
Above all else, that is what Justin told me we've been doing this show for 3 years. He's like, when I was 20, 24, 25, he's like, save money. I'm still on that path, man. It's like, save it for a rainy day, man. So I'll have to save those fun experiences.
I would say my biggest, find a physical hobby. Whether that's the gym, whether that is gardening, whether that is also learn to cook.
Is river floating an activity, Justin?
Well, I don't know if you could do that every day. I feel like, or at least every weekend.
Right.
October's going to be here before you know.
It will be.
And river floating, I don't know if it's going to be all that great. Coming up next, we'll get back into Blazer TV deal, TBD. And we've got Kurt Helin. We got an RCM mailbag. Jam-packed hour 3 next, 620 Rip City Radio.
8 a.m. on a Thursday. Brenden Slaughter with you. The Portland Trailblazers will have a new TV/streaming home next season. As in a statement yesterday, the Blazers announced their departure from Root. The new streaming home is expected to be announced soon. And over in the NFL, Vikings rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy is out for the season after undergoing surgery to repair a torn meniscus. There was some optimism that McCarthy would return this season, but a full repair was needed. And over in the MLB, Aaron Judge is the fastest player in league history to hit 300 career home runs, crushing the record by over 100 games. Coming up in about 20 minutes, we're going to catch up with Kurt Helin, lead NBA writer for NBC Sports here on Rip City Mornings.
And welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. 20 minutes from now, just like Brenden told you, Kurt Helin's joining the show. Get his thoughts on whether the market is cooling or ever was hot for Jeremy Grant, or if the Blazers even are in the mood to trade Jeremy Grant, the potential future of Anthony Simons. And I'll get his thoughts on this TV deal because obviously a huge, huge bit of news and a huge announcement from the Blazers yesterday, which was that they are no longer going to be airing their games on Root. Of course, they thank Root, but moving forward, they'll have a new on-air partnership. And we've talked about this a handful of times in the past, but you never knew if it was ever going to be a reality. That I feel like the Jazz and the Suns have the best model. And this is the other thing. Like, if you don't live in certain areas or are not if you're a transplant and a fan of another team, who knows like what the TV deal is for other NBA teams. We live in our own little bubble. We knew that Root and the Blazers, it never quite fit. It just never did. Like, especially early on that first year. And it was like, oh, how often are they going to be preempted? Turns out a lot. Or
all the time.
Or bumped to Root Sports Plus and having to learn what that was and where it was on the dial and everything else. And you look at what the Suns are doing and you look at what the Jazz are doing, and I hope that is the Blazers model moving forward. Now, I don't know the economics of it. I am not an economist. I am not a businessman or a businessman, like Jay-Z said. I'm a fan. So I am looking at this from a fan's perspective. What is the best possible way to get your product in front of as many eyeballs as possible? How best can you serve the fans? Well, it's what the Jazz are doing. The Jazz, this was 2023, moved their games to free over-the-air local stations. There were 15 years of having non-national TV games on a regional sports network. So Utah, if you live in the Salt Lake City area, you get to watch Jazz games for free every single night. Every single night the Utah Jazz play. Same with the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns, they're on local TV. Free over the air. And then the Jazz created a streaming option direct to consumer. Again, I don't know the logistics of it. I know that you can't just snap your finger and be like, oh, we've got an app. All right. You got to develop it. You got to get the bugs out. It's very rarely when you kind of develop an app is it flawlessly rolled out. You've got to update it. Like, there's all the updates on your phone, right? But if you could get in that direction, and I'm sure some Blazer fans might even take a few bugs here and there to be able to have one of two options to watch the game. A, local free TV. And I know it might surprise some of you. It still exists. You don't have to have cable. You don't have to have satellite. You don't have to have a streaming service. You could just go and buy a TV, plug it in, turn on the antenna, and guess what? You get to watch local channels. It's free. It's the most valuable thing the NFL has done. NFL is on free TV every weekend. Every weekend. College football, every weekend, free TV. And also these networks or these local affiliates, live sports, still appointment viewing. It's the only thing you watch commercials on, by the way. Even if you are like me, for the time being, who is still a dinosaur with cable TV.
That comment's coming for you, Justin.
It's coming.
It's en route. So
I can hear the scissors. But even if you are someone like even if you were to watch local network TV, other than the news, which I would imagine most people watch the news in real time. I want the weather. I want the traffic. I want the local news. Sports is the only thing you still watch the commercials on. You know what I mean? I watch Jeopardy on local TV every single night. Oh, I DVR it, and I don't watch the commercials. So it's going to be valuable to local stations because you get to have actual commercials that people will watch. And by the way, again, I don't know. I just know. Looking into the future, there's going to be value in that. You listen to a podcast as opposed to maybe listening to. How often do you fast forward through the live reads? Can't do it during the live show. How often do you fast forward through the commercials if you have something DVR'd? How often do you skip 5 seconds in on a YouTube video?
Are you, do most of your streamers, are you ad-free on most of them?
I'm ad-free on all of them. I figure if I'm going to go in, I'm going all the way in.
Because I have ads on almost everything. Hulu, Max, Peacock, like pretty much. I think all of them have ads.
I would ad-free on all of them. But, and when I watch, because I still watch network TV shows, when I watch them, guess what? I watch them later and I fast forward through the commercials. Not with live sports. So if you're a TV network or a local TV network, yeah, you're going to have more value for your advertising because people are going to be watching the games live, and live sports still rates. And then you do what the Utah Jazz did, which is roll out an app. I believe it's called Jazz Plus. So you create the Blazers app, and $14.99 a month, you get to watch all the games. You could go, because I think Brenden had it up earlier. It's $5 a game if you want to pay per game. If you just want to watch one game a month, right? That's not a bad deal. $5, boom. You watch the one game a month you want to watch. If you're like us and you're going to watch all the games, you can pay an annual fee, which comes out to about $1.50 a game. And this is, by the way, streaming. If you live in Salt Lake City, you get all the games for free. Just like if you can live in the Portland metro area, you could get, if this TV deal comes from this particular format, you could get all the games for free. But if you live out of market, $14.99, boom, that pays for a month. You get the games, you get to stream the games, you get a T-shirt. Win, win, win. I don't know if there's another possible way, because I feel like the regional sports network thing, like NBC Sports Northwest is dead. Second to last show on that network. That was me. Outdoor GPS closed out the lights. I think Owen, he closed out the lights. He got to keep doing his show, though. Second to last show on there. We shut it down. But it doesn't exist anymore. There's, other than Root, correct me if I'm wrong, Brenden, there's not a Northwest Regional Sports Network. It doesn't exist.
Outside of Root, no.
So the Blazers have nowhere to go except for local. So I'm sure that's what's going to happen.
I mean,
unless they want to go full on in-house, create their own, their own app where you get exclusive Blazer coverage.
Right. I mean, I think that, again, Fox has to be the move here. Fox Sports Plus, the relationship already there with the Rip City remix. KPTV is found in just about every like Justin and I talked about. You can get rabbit ears. If it wasn't it doesn't strike me as like they're gonna go to K2 or Coin, But those are also options.
They're out there.
So those who's to say you can't turn on Coin and you get it's CBS or ABC on K2. So I think the world is kind of their oyster now, Justin, and divorcing yourself from Root was the best move for the fan. Like, I forget who it was. I think it might have been Sean Heikens. Like, I've never seen Blazer Twitter get so excited over something in a 15-minute span. And it was insane. So it's awesome. I love it.
It's the biggest win the Blazers have had in 5 years. As nuts as it sounds.
Pre-COVID?
I want to say since Dame hit the shot, but since they won Game 7 against Denver in 2019, right?
We're going back pre-COVID then. Whew.
Yes. Pre-COVID, because think about what happened the next year. They had a good season the next year. That was next. Take it back. The next year, everybody got hurt. Still got into the bubble, but gentleman sweep by the hands of the Lakers inside the bubble. Next year, had a decent season. Nobody was allowed in Moda Center to watch it. And then the embarrassing loss to the Denver Nuggets in the playoffs. Then a coach firing. Then a tank. Then a second tank. Then trading away Damian Lillard. It's been a rough go. On top of it, TV stuff that didn't quite work at NBC Sports Northwest, didn't quite work at Root Sports. Lots of people missing and becoming apathetic. It's like, oh, they're tanking and I can't find the game anyways. Meh. I'll watch The Office again. So good move for the Blazers, and I think
it's the best move they could have possibly made.
The biggest win is all of us. Like every Blazer fan, and hopefully this is the start of a trend moving forward. There was a Gloria Estefan song one time called "Coming Out of the Dark." It's like coming out of the dark. Like hopefully this is the Blazer rise, right? It's not going to be instant, but.
Can we call it Blazer Vision again?
No.
Oh.
That's bad. Bad news.
Oh.
Bad news bears. That's
like,
triggering
what are we gonna
to
call
some people.
It, right? Like, we need a name.
You just call it Rip City Plus.
That could work.
Yeah.
But
just call it Rip City Plus. $15. That's your monthly fee. Or if you live here.
Pay for the year.
You just plug in your TV and grab an antenna and call it a day.
Beep, boop, beep. Solid.
Did she throw in a beep, boop, beep?
Boop, boop. Solid. Absolutely solid.
My goodness. All right. Kurt Helin's going to be joining the show on the other side. But before we do that, I know we're talking about how you're going to watch the Blazers this upcoming season on TV. You can also watch them in person. You can also maybe go out and watch the Hillsboro Hops in person. Ticket Tuesday. The winning streak stays alive. Exclusive tickets to the Hillsboro Hops all season long. Listen to Rip City Drive each and every Tuesday afternoon for your chance to win, or you get Hops tickets now at hillsborohops.com. Kurt Helin of NBC Sports joining us next on 620 Rip City Radio. It has been it's been an interesting couple of years for the Portland Trail Blazers, and obviously the fan base has been divided a bit because there are the Dame Forevers, and then there are the maybe we needed to move on, and then there are the how could you preach loyalty yet then request a trade? How could you do it? Say it ain't so, Dame. And then there are those the tanking is working, and then there are those that are like the tanking is getting old, and it's been a bit of a divided fan base. And then yesterday, the Blazers announced that they are breaking up with Root Sports, and the fan base came together for a glorious couple of hours to become united to talk more about NBA basketball on TV and the Blazers and a whole bunch of other stuff. Friend of the program from NBC Sports, Kurt Helin, back on the big show. Good morning, Kurt. How we doing?
I'm doing well. How's it going, man?
Like I said, it was a good day in Rip City yesterday because the Blazers broke up with their regional sports network. It was It was not going well. It was not a good partnership, but it's one of the things I want to talk to you about because now I don't believe the Blazers are free agents. I think there's another deal coming, but a lot of people around here are looking at the Utah Jazz and the Phoenix Suns model, which is the putting it on free TV locally and then finding their own streaming app. Do you think if the Blazers head that way, is that the direction that most NBA teams are going to be headed? Is that maybe a West Coast thing? What do you think is the future of kind of teams in what their regional sports network deals used to look like, what they're going to look like moving forward?
I think that this is much more in line with where the league is headed, and not just those markets, right? And I think you'll start to see other small to mid-sized markets follow that pattern over the coming – I mean, they've got contracts. But frankly, right now, unless you're the Lakers or the Knicks or a handful of others, you're not really making that much money on your RSNs, right? And so – and the RSNs aren't making money. Obviously – nationally, they're struggling. So I think what you're seeing is the direction even the league itself is going. Part of the reason, we at NBC now have broadcast rights is, on top of we threw a lot of money at them, was that our pitch was in part, hey, we're going to put games on NBC, over-the-air, national broadcast. But we're also going to put a bunch of games on Peacock, right? And that streaming and over-the-air model seems to be where the league is heading as it looks at the reality of frankly, just it's not just ESPN because they'll survive in some form, but cable television in general is a fading business. And I think the league sees, and a lot of teams see what Portland did as an example of just how to get through.
I mean, it is interesting. Kurt Helin from NBC Sports joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio, especially with what we just saw with the Olympics. I'd mentioned it a couple of years ago, Kurt, that because I am a grumpy old cable guy, thinking about moving away from that as now the Blazers aren't going to be on cable for years and years and years. And I've always thought, sports on streaming services, there was still something that they hadn't quite hit. And then I think two things have happened that I think really changed everybody's mind. One is the NFL figured out Thursday Night Football on Prime, and everybody had to figure out how to get Prime. And what we just saw with not just NBA or not just with Olympic basketball, with the Olympics, this was kind of the first streaming Olympics. I was on Peacock way more than I was watching the broadcast on NBC. I don't know if your bosses want to hear that, but it was really the way that I consumed the Olympics, and I felt like, boy, what a test run for the NBA, or what a better test run for the NBA on Peacock than having the Olympics.
And I think, look, my bosses are actually thrilled with that. You are not alone. I don't think that it's a secret. What the goal is with Peacock is, and it's the same when, Max has got House of Dragons right now, right out, and all this. It's stopping the churn. It's keeping the majority of those people, or as many as you can, through whatever, and that's where they're going to be using. We at NBC, at least, and I think other networks as well, are see live sports as part of that. Hey, you bought for the Olympics, but you're going to be able to get special NFL games, and in a year we'll have NBA. And the idea is to limit that churn by and people jumping in and out of streaming because I've got too many of them. We've all got all kind of like it's kind of a weird situation. But I'm with you. I think that's kind of where things are headed. And I was on vacation. We can discuss food in Greece later.
Oh, buddy.
But I was watching the packaged broadcasts in Greece and a couple of foreign countries before I got home, and I'm like, Peacock was such a breath of fresh air. Like we were gone for the start of the Olympics, and we get home, we're like, oh my gosh, it's everything. It's I actually had connections with people on USA Sailing, and I'm like, I've got to watch some of that, and it was just easy to get, and then that made it all the better.
Kurt Helin from NBC Sports joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. I definitely want to hear about food in Greece. Well, we're gonna do some business first because then I get to tell you where I ate dinner on Sunday night, and I think you are going to be very happy to hear about this. But we got to get some business done. So while we talked about the way we're gonna consume Blazers games in the upcoming season, I'm not still quite sure what the roster is going to look like heading into the summer. Kurt, it felt like there might be some maybe big moves coming for the Portland Trail Blazers. Yeah. There's a logjam at center after drafting Donovan Clingan. There's a logjam still in the backcourt with Scoot, Shaden, and Anthony Simons, not to mention Matisse Thybulle still there. Obviously, they moved Malcolm Brogdon. And then there's the Jeremy Grant conundrum, which Jeremy Grant, fine player, but his contract, his age don't really fit with the Blazer timeline yet. Doesn't feel like the market's real hot. Is that just kind of what's going on in the NBA right now? Is that just maybe everybody took an Olympic break, or do the Blazers maybe have a bigger uphill battle in making some moves before training camp starts here in about a month?
I think you'll start to see moves heat back up close to the start of training camp and then in through training camp, whether it's with Portland or a couple other teams that have, Zach LaVine's still out there. If anybody's interested, nobody is. There's some other Brenden Ingram. There's some other trades looming out there, including with Portland. I think Portland's an interesting roster, just because tanking isn't the word I'm looking for, but they're probably going to finish near the bottom of the West and be in line. This is the year to do it. Don't be bad last year with, Riza Shea, with all due respect, at the top of the board. This year's draft, somebody put it to me, Riza Shea, who went number 1 in June, would probably go 6th in the next draft at best. Like, it's a much, much better draft. That said, this isn't a terrible team. And, depending on health with Simons and Scoot taking a step forward and on down the line of list of questions, I don't know if they're competing for a playoff spot, but this is a respectable team that's not purely tanking and has a path forward if these players can develop.
I'm curious because you mentioned the draft class, and obviously I think the Blazers would rather be young and just kind of bad and not really tanking, though. Like they would like to play the young guys, but they would also like them to not make shots in the fourth quarter. But I'm curious because there was a time, and you and I think, are old enough to remember this time when everybody shied away or the league kind of got weary about drafting these guys straight out of high school. The scouting wasn't that great. There was a lot of misses, especially at the top, because everybody decided to go young, and then they put in the one and done rule, and obviously now it seems like we're kind of getting has the scouting gotten better, because obviously Cooper Flagg is now at the top of the draft board. He hasn't played a game for Duke. He hasn't made one shot in the ACC yet, and he's at the top of the draft board. Is the scouting getting better?
A little, maybe. I think that's a little bit part of it. In Cooper Flagg's case, it's a little different. I'm going to say, just because I have my doubts about these guys, and then in Cooper's case, I was in Las Vegas when he played for the select team against USA Basketball in some scrimmages, and he's out there with all, the select team is kind of some of the best young guns in the NBA, and not only fitting right in at 17, he was one of their best players at 17. He was making shots and making plays. And there was a rush of Cooper Flagg stories because a lot of us who haven't really seen him in person, who cover the league, were like, wow, he's legit. That said, I think the other big difference is I think the scouting's gotten a little better, but also the last time the league went straight out of high school, they just didn't know how to – I don't want to say didn't know how to develop players, but it wasn't the focus that it's become. Because even with one-and-done guys, and you talk about the top of this draft, again, Reza Shea and Sarr and these guys, Klingen's about the most – the Klingen and a couple of other guys, maybe Reed Shepherd can come in and play now. Most of these guys are development projects still. And so there's just a better focus within, the player development specialists in every front office, in every roster, and every coaching staff who, they're trying to do this. And I think the league just got better at it than they were before where, Kobe Bryant developed because Kobe Bryant's Kobe Bryant. And same with Kevin Garnett, right? Straight out of high school, but did you really ever doubt he was going to put in the work and figure it out? But there were a lot of other guys who either didn't pan out or the Jermaine O'Neals that took forever because I don't think the development plan was as good.
Kurt Helin from NBC Sports joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. So Team USA gets the gold. I was in Vegas at the Caesars Sportsbook for the gold medal game. It was awesome. It was so fun to watch.
That's a great spot for that.
In that particular spot, and they didn't cover, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. Still won the gold medal, and you saw the celebration, and you saw all of a ton of legacy talk, and then a lot of people felt like, okay, for KD, for Steph, for LeBron, this is their Olympic swan song. They got the gold in Paris. They gave themselves a nickname, and then now you're starting to hear rumors about but LA makes it a little bit easier in 4 years. Do you see a passing of the torch and that Team USA is going to eventually let Jason Tatum play and Anthony Edwards and these guys who were kind of put in there as first time? Or does LeBron and Steph keep the stranglehold on Team USA in 4 years?
I don't think LeBron and Steph are there.
Okay.
Durant just loves to hoop, man.
He might play forever.
He's the one guy who might just be like, yeah, I'll do it, whatever. And because of his game, frankly, because of all their games, but Durant in particular, that shot in 4 years is going to be as smooth and silky as it is now. So, he's still releasing. He's a 7-footer releasing over his head and who can gets to his spots and hits them. So I think you are going to see an evolution, though, with Anthony Edwards kind of becoming the face and some other changes. Maybe we see a guy like Cooper Flagg, but I think you're going to see Chet Holmgren is the kind of guy who we're frankly probably going to need, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody's got to go up against Wembanyama because, frankly, France in 4 years, if these guards, if I mentioned Reza Shea, there's some other young French guards. There's a top 5 pick in this draft from France who's a 6'5" point guard. If those guys develop and they actually get a secondary shot creator on the perimeter that isn't Evan Fournier, it ain't going to be easy. Them coming to Los Angeles and returning the favor of taking the gold on our home turf is not out of the question. Because by that point, Wembanyama will be the best player on the planet, and it's going to be interesting. So I think you're going to see an evolution with Team USA, and a next step with guys like Brunson's probably there, and Halliburton will certainly go back, and we'll see some others, but it's going to look and feel different. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how the next coach puts things together. It's probably Spoelstra, a little more defensive, a little more. That was a very Warriors-esque team running some very KD-era Warriors-esque sets, and I think it'd be interesting to see what Spoelstra would do with it.
One more thing on the Olympics, because you mentioned Wembanyama, and again, I am so pumped that Team USA won the gold, and that Steph moment was unbelievable. But I couldn't help, Kurt, but watch Team France and go, why does Wemby not get the ball every time? And why do they not run an 8th grade offense where it's we've got the tallest guy. You guys don't have anybody that can guard him. He's going to get the ball every single time. I watched them play even games in pool play, and I'm like, this French coach is kind of a doofus. Why would you not just give him the ball every single time?
It's kind of crazy that the European coaching model, even on, and I think this is based out of, you see it in their club teams, even with the really good club teams, they just don't have the same high-end talent generally, right? Like they're not used to coaching. The best player, man, the highest paid player is in at least 2 years ago in Europe was Shane Markin, right? Like it's good players, borderline, guys who could be maybe in an NBA rotation, but you don't have the guy who can just take over. So you've developed this real team mindset and passing and egalitarian system where everybody gets the ball. And that's great, unless you've got Wembanyama, or I think Serbia did a better job with Jokic of starting to run everything through him because you should absolutely run everything through Jokic, right? I think we'll see if France is better at that in 4 years, because I think I think that it's not the nature of European coaches, because it's not the talent they have night in and night out. But yeah, especially 4 years from now, like if you're not running everything through Wembanyama, that's like some sort of cardinal sin you should not be forgiven for.
Kurt Helin from NBC Sports joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, let's do it. We're going to talk some food real quick. Let me ask you, so you said you were in Greece. I was in Greece a couple of years ago. The listening audience is probably sick of me talking about it. Went to Greece on my honeymoon a couple of years ago. Fantastic. The thing I love most about Greece, the gyros that you would buy on the street are as good as you could get at any high-end place, like shawarma, that just from street vendors. And I was in Paros and Santorini, and it was that was the thing I took was, boy, just you could find anything there, and it just all felt like you were at some high-end, like fully established 4-star restaurant.
Yeah. We were mostly in Naxos, so close to Paros. But it was the same thing. A, street food's just killer, and B, like most, I mean, you can't escape tourism on a Greek island. Good luck with that. It doesn't really matter. But if you got away from the main tourist drag and the places with pictures on the menu, oh my God, we had unbelievable meals with my family that were I had a stewed octopus thing. It was one of the best things I ate on the whole vacation, and just some crazy, tasty stuff. And then you get the bill, and you're like, wow, that was. Yeah. I'm used to paying a lot more for that quality of food. Like we were going to not higher end, but nicer places a couple times, and like, yeah, it was unbelievably good food through that part of the trip. And you're right, the other advantage is just, man. Don't you feel that way in general, though? Like in Mexico City, I felt this. Paris, like the street food's always the best food.
It's so good. It's so unbelievably good. Now, speaking of unbelievably good, for context, in about 3 weeks away is going to be my birthday. On my birthday, I am going to my wife's friend's wedding, and that's also during football season. So my wife, who is understanding and knows that probably not her friend's wedding is where I want to be on my birthday, football Saturday. We were in Vegas this weekend, as I mentioned. Early birthday dinner, Sunday night. Finally made it to a Colicchio's, Kurt.
Oh.
Craft steak at the MGM Grand. I nearly ate myself sick. It was so good. I finally made it to a Tom restaurant.
Okay, did you leave that experience, because I've eaten at Craft Steak as well once, going, I now better understand Tom's palate?
Yes. Well, and I remember, and I thought of you, as weird as it sounds, having a birthday dinner with my wife, but I did think of you because we always joke about how Tom
as long as you didn't linger on that, we're okay.
Because you and I both understand on Top Chef that Tom tells everybody, did you put salt on this? Interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have, a steak and mashed potatoes and a beautiful appetizer and go like, yeah, definitely put salt on it. Definitely on there.
Yeah. You left that experience, and I felt this way with others. Like if you eat at a Bobby Flay restaurant, not his Mesa, like one of his main ones, you kind of come away with a better sense of what he likes. But I left Craft Steak going, yeah, rich food. You can't use enough salt and butter to make Tom happy.
Like I said, nearly ate myself sick. It was also night 3 in Vegas, and body was pushed to its limits. Hey, Kurt, thank you so much for your time. Have a great rest of your summer. Basketball season right around the corner, and can't wait to talk to you again soon.
Looking forward to it, man.
There you go, Kurt Helin of NBC Sports. We've got the RCM mailbag, but before we do that, I do want to let you know about our good friends at Lazy Boy and the annual Stuff the Bus school supply drive. That's right. Now through August 19th, you can donate a backpack or 10 miscellaneous school supply items to any of the 6 local Lazy Boy locations. That's including Salem and Eugene, and you can receive 25% off your Lazy Boy purchase. Some exclusions do apply. The Salvation Army will then distribute your donations to local families in need as always. We thank you for your generosity. All the details on the community page at ripcityradio.com. RCM mailbag next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up the big show. We do that the same way each and every day with the RCM mailbag, random questions. Any subject, any topic, nothing is off limits, and I repeat, will not duck the tough questions. Brenden, let's fire it up.
All right, found out the big mailbag today. Interesting statistic that I found yesterday, Justin. I'm curious how close you can get to it. In the United States,
Boom.
Google controls a massive market share as far as being people's primary search engine.
Yes.
What percentage of Americans do you think use Google? It's actually mind-boggling.
Is it above 85?
Yes.
Is it above 90?
Yes.
Is it above 95?
No.
93.
92.5% people use Google.
Okay, can I tell you what
the rest come
what
up.
I am shocked about? I am shocked that there's 7.5% of people that don't use Google.
Bing comes up next.
Yeah. Who uses Bing?
Who knows?
There's like 4 people in Seattle that are still trying to make Bing happen.
You're right.
Because I think that's just Microsoft.
It is a Microsoft.
There's like 4 people in Seattle going like, guys, I think Bing.
Keep pushing Bing, baby.
Okay, so Yahoo was the first one.
It was.
And then Yahoo. Now Yahoo's still around.
They actually own Rivals, so they're actually my.
They are your parent company.
Yes, they are. So.
What does Yahoo do though? Like how? Like
they have money invested in a whole. They have revenue coming from Rivals. They have revenue coming from they're not Yahoo still exists, but I know that they've diversified their.
Yeah, they're obviously clearly not a search engine because Google is. Yeah, I guess the sports app on my phone is Yahoo Sports. It's it's kind of like a media company now.
Still got Yahoo Mail, email.
Oh yeah.
That was my first email. Was Yahoo.
But yeah, I feel like there's 5 people in Seattle still trying to make Bing happen. Isn't there one that's it's supposed to not have your data taken or something? I know people every once in a while. I'll hear an ad, a pop-up ad of are you tired of Google mining your data? Oh, you should be searching on blah, blah, blah. And I'm I'm going to search on Google.
You know there are still those OGs, Justin, that are yeah, I ride for Firefox.
How about Ask Jeeves? Is Ask Jeeves still out there?
I remember when, I'm gonna check that, but when I was a kid, they had Ask Jeeves Kids, and I remember they took that away. It's yeah, no, Jeeves is just leaving. And
yeah, goodbye, Jeeves. You're out.
Yeah, they got rid of, they dropped Jeeves in 06, Justin. Dude, it was so great, man. Kids these days don't even know what it was like to Ask Jeeves. And not to mention, even Google's changed over the years because, I used to think, as a kid, because, again, Google came on, Justin, when I was in, elementary school, middle school. Computer labs were being a big deal. We started to have computers available and accessible to us all the time. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, Google? I'm feeling lucky. Google was just cool, man. And it's still and
well,
to think
it became the thing that Kleenex became, that Xerox became, that Coke became, which is you don't call it a tissue, you call it a Kleenex.
One
you don't
word,
call it a bandage, it's a Band-Aid.
Don't call it soda, it's have a Coke.
Yeah,
right?
can I get a Coke? Like that, and it's Google it. That's what people say.
Well,
they don't even say look it up. They just say, well, Google. I say it probably 8 times a show. I go, Brenden, will you Google this?
It's true.
Because I don't, do a lot of research before the show. And sometimes things pop into my head that I didn't know we were going to talk about because that's just the way this wandering stream happens to meander throughout these 3 hours.
Don't get yourself twisted, Justin. You're a wandering crick. Not stream, dude. It's a crick.
It is a crick. I am from Douglas County.
But yeah, no.
It's Google that, and you don't even think about it. Also, yeah. I wonder if Google has 92.5% in terms of search engines. What do you think the Gmail is? That's got to be astronomically high for email. It's probably not as high as obviously the search engine, but everybody's got Gmail, I would imagine, as their
Okay.
outside of their work email where you are, on a server, like your web-based email.
Yeah, much different. So United States, Google for Gmail only has a 45% market share.
That's still huge, though.
It is huge. I say only. But yes, compared to...
Because you're still rocking with the Yahoo.
Because, and I think, like, you and I have Outlook here for work. That, like, I have a Gmail and an Outlook, right? I think a lot of people, you can't choose what your work email is.
Yeah, you got to have the one email where you don't want your bosses checking in.
It's true, right?
Let's do email surveillance.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't know, Justin. You were obviously around, like, Google came on for me, and, I knew the search engine, but, like, what was it like for you guys when Google came in and you could truly find anything?
Well, like I said, the first thing we had was Yahoo.
Yeah. But Google had to be cooler, right?
It ultimately became kind of cooler.
Yeah.
But, like, my first email was a Hotmail account.
Yeah,
so you had
Hotmail, baby. Let's
and
go.
then it would be Yahoo, which is where we would search for stuff, and then Google popped up. I don't know if it was cooler. It was just like, all right, well, that's what we do now.
It's just crazy how, like, it changed overnight.
But
like,
the fact that it just
like AOL
and it stuck.
Like AOL went away. Yahoo had to rebrand and do different things. Like the fact that Google's just like, move over, Larry and Sergey time.
Well, it was kind of like there was a time when there was HD, DVD, and there was and then Blu-ray. They're just like, no, Blu-ray is what we do.
And now it's we stream now.
By the way, Netflix, also another thing. You can talk, streaming movies are like, oh, what do you watch? Just watching Netflix.
Yeah.
And it's like, then if you're on Prime, it's like, yeah, it's Netflix.
Netflix and chill, man.
All right, that's going to do it for the big show today. Thanks to Kurt Helin of NBC Sports. Thanks to super producer Brenden. Thanks to all of you. Have a terrific Thursday. We got a fancy coffee Friday tomorrow morning to wrap up the big show, 620 Rip City Radio.